Hi butterflies, welcome to my garden. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And now let's get into the video. Hi guys, it's your girl Calypso and I'm back again. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back again, I'm back again, I'm back again. Okay. So today I'm gonna talk about J.K. Rowling and the monopoly of the word woman. So I don't know, I wanted to keep this a little bit light. Like when I started doing this channel, I wanted to keep, a lot of things light, but I find myself drawn to a little bit more, serious topics and um so I guess it is what it is. And we'll definitely get to the light stuff. So just bear with me and rock with me and ride with me and we'll get there. Let's just yeah, talk because that's just the reality of the world. There's always going to be serious issues and there's always going to be serious things that are affecting people like me. And yeah, so cisgender people, transgender people, and everybody else, you just take what resonates with you. I'm only just here to talk about facts and then I'll give my opinion because ultimately that is what this is. That's just me sharing my opinion on certain things. So, when I say monopoly on the word woman, I feel like there are certain women who call themselves feminists. However, their feminism only encompasses women who are biological women, cisgender women, and therefore they're quite exclusionary when it comes to trans girls and trans women. So there's an acronym that's been used to classify women like that, and that's called TERF, which is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. And those are specifically the ones that don't include trans women in their feminist movement or in their feminist argument. Now, there are several examples of women like this. You have people like, what's her name? Kate Hopkins. Yeah, but I'm not gonna discuss this specimen right here, although this one right here, she needs to be studied because I don't understand it, but I'm not about to give this attention-seeking, thirsty, fear-mongering, despicable specimen right here. I'm not discussing her. The main example that I'm going to use is J.K. Rowling. Now, for those of you who don't know who J.K. Rowling is, like she is like a writer extraordinaire she's a billionaire, right? I think she's a female, yeah, she's a female billionaire. And she amassed a lot of her fortune from the Harry Potter book series. And obviously she gets royalties from the movies. And she also wrote that movie as well, Fantastic Beasts, which is based off of a novel that she also penned. And so she's amassed a lot of her fortune from the series because it was a huge mega hit. There's a lot of people, there are millions, probably billions of people on earth whose childhood is somehow tied to the Harry Potter franchise. Because there's a lot of people that took comfort in the fact that here you have this boy who was an outcast and he found where he belongs in a magical setting, and he found his tribe, he found his calling, he found his people. So there's a lot of people that took comfort in that story. There's a lot of people who could relate to a lot of things there. Like for me personally, I wouldn't say I was a super fan. However, I never read any of the books. But I knew I was very much aware of their existence because I had friends and I had people and classmates and whatever who were really invested in the Harry Potter book series, but I was never really into it. I've maybe seen like 2 or 3 movies in total, maybe 4 of the movie franchise. So I've only seen maybe about 4 of the movies, and I liked the first movie. I think I seen the second one, and then maybe I saw the 4th or the 5th. Anyway, but I'm familiar with the characters because I was surrounded by people who were really into the series and the franchise and all of that. So yeah, J.K. Rowling is one of those women who is she's basically a Karen. And I'm gonna put the definition of what a Karen is for those who are oblivious to it. She's a Karen, okay? That Yeah, she's a Karen. Anyway, um, and I'm just gonna give a brief. I think I'm gonna make this a two-part video so that way I can really go into specifics of what I'm referring to, because in the first part I'm gonna go into the timeline of how her inherent transphobia started, and that way you can see where I'm coming from. And then in the second part I'm probably going to go into a more opinion-based vlog about how I feel and how I feel and my opinions on women who are like her. Okay, so let's go into the timeline. So let's see. Actually, if you think about it, her outside of the Harry Potter series, I think she went under she has a pen name called Robert something, and ironic how she took a man's name as a pseudonym or as a pen name for her next series of book. I think it's called the I took some notes down. I think her other book series is based on it's called the Cormoran Strike book series. It's about some kind of detective, and yeah, I never read any of those either, so you can clearly see that I'm a huge fan of J.K. Rowling. Anyway, so I think I don't think she's deliberately transphobic. I think she's inherently transphobic. Okay, how about that? Yeah, I said it and you can quote me on that, because there's the things that I've seen and the things that I've read about this woman, because I'm not just pulling stuff out of the air. I actually come with receipts, okay? So the thing about her is, I don't think she's a deliberate transphobe. I think she's just an inherent transphobe. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like her transphobia dates back to 2014. People didn't pick it up then. That's the thing. Some people picked it up, but not a lot of people picked it up then. It started really during last year. I think the whole world was in lockdown, and that was when one of the things that I've always said about 2020 is that what I'm grateful for 2020, as shitty of a year as it was, one of the things that I'm grateful for 2020 is that a lot of people's true colors came to the surface, and I, for one, I took a lot of mental notes. Okay. Because I saw a lot of people for who they really are, because their true colors were revealed one way or another, because everyone was bored and everybody was just showing their cards, showing everything. A lot of people were. Yeah. So her inherent transphobia, it dates back to 2014. I think it's her book on the Cormoran Strike book series. I think it's the second or the third one in the series. It's called Silkworm. It was released on the 19th of June 2014, right? So in Silkworm, she talks about this. She writes about a woman called Piper. Piper? Who cares? Piper, right? She stalks the detective Strike, right? And then she stalks him before attempting to stab him, and then Strike straps her in his office, revealing her trans identity based off of her Adam's apple and her hands. Really? That's the best you could come up with? And she did say that she became interested in trans issues when she was researching for her book. So you were interested in trans issues and you started doing your research for your stupid book. Okay, you started for your dumb book, and you started doing research on trans issues for your dumb book. What trans issues were you researching? I'm guessing you were researching the negative parts, right? And then this woman who who has power and influence over a vast majority of people who are already ignorant, is now feeding into the fear of trans people, because we get labeled as predators, whether it's sexual predators or just predators, period. We get labeled as predators, and then trans men somehow get labeled as victims of a patriarchal society. But the trans women, we're predators, right? So she's feeding into that fear, and she's a victim of that fear, actually, and then she's perpetuating it, and then she's feeding into it. She's feeding the beast. Okay? Now, I digress. But in this book, in this particular chapter paragraph, revealing her Adam's apple based on her Adam's apple and her arms, and then Strike proceeds to tell Piper that I'm going to put this on the screen so that you can see the passage that I'm specifically referring to. And then Strike tells Piper that prison won't be fun for you, not pre-op. So basically, she's a pre-op transvestite. I don't think she was even transgender. I think she was just a transvestite. In other words, a cross-dresser. Because there's a big difference between a transgender person versus a cross-dresser versus a transvestite. Actually, the term transvestite is outdated. People don't even say that anymore, you moron. Anyway, so basically, she's then painting this character as a transvestite cross-dresser killer. In other words, this is fear-mongering at its finest. It's fear-mongering at its finest. I don't care what nobody says. She knew what she was doing. And this also goes to that movie. It's just like that movie, Silence of the Lambs. You know? So here you have Buffalo Bill, who is a cross-dressing serial killer who skins women alive and wears their skin or something. So basically, you're fitting into that old adage that trans women are like the fox in the hen house, the wolf in sheep's clothing, Lord Voldemort in a dress. Look at me. Ain't nothing Lord Voldemort about this. I'm not Lord Voldemort in a dress. Matter of fact, it's you, J.K. Rowling. It's you, women like you, and you specifically, who are the wolf in sheep's clothing, because you say you're a feminist and you're all for women's rights, but you pick and choose what women you want to support. Feminism should cover all women, regardless of our past history. So this is... it defeats the purpose. This feminism movement, this gender critical feminists specifically, what they're doing defeats the whole purpose, because you're picking and choosing what section of women to not support, to criticize and to put down, and it's so disappointing. Because we, trans women, we're fighting with you. We're fighting for fighting for women's rights too. We fight for equal pay. We fight against misogyny. We fight against a patriarchal society that puts us down. And then you turn around and then look for a community that's already marginalized and oppressed, and you put us down even more. Why? I am heated today. I am really heated. Now, that's in 2014, by the way, when she released that stupid book where she was trying to depict a transvestite cross-dressing serial killer, okay, to fearmonger whoever was stupid enough to buy the book and read it and believe it. Now, fast forward to June 16, not June 16, the 6th of June in 2020, when the whole world was basically in lockdown. I think she was just bored. She was just bored and she was just looking for a project. Don't make us your project, honey. Focus on writing your next literary masterpiece, because after Harry Potter, girl, you ain't got no steam, honey. Your steam is running dry, it's running cold. So you need to find your next literary masterpiece in that head of yours, okay? And stop making us your project, stop making us your scapegoat, stop making us your victim. Because this is the prime example of how the oppressed then becomes the oppressor, because she has firsthand experienced how a patriarchal society can be dangerous to women. She was a victim of domestic abuse. And I truly believe that, I'm trying to pick my words carefully. I know it's probably too late because I was already heated when I started recording. But I'm trying to pick my words carefully. What is so disappointing about her is like this woman has had first-hand experience of how dangerous a patriarchal society can be for women. Because she's been a victim of abuse. She said it herself. I saw her movie a few years ago when she did a movie about her life. I saw that movie. So she was a victim of domestic abuse. So I guess maybe to deal with all that trauma, she decided to pick the trans community as a scapegoat. Specifically trans women. Because I don't hear her, because now she mentions trans men in a way, but the attack has mostly been towards the trans girls. What's the problem? What's the tea, sis? You jealous? You mad about something? You are angry about something and it shows. Anyway, I'll show you the timeline, right? So it's June 6th, 2020. She tweeted an op-ed piece that discussed people who menstruate. And I think she took an issue with the absence of the word woman in the op-ed piece, because when she when she retweeted that op-ed piece, she put this. Yeah, she put this, and then backlash ensues, right? And then the next day, on June 7th in 2020, she doubled down again, and then she went on a series of Twitter rants. This is why I'm not on Twitter, because I find Twitter to be very negative. I find Twitter to be very toxic and negative. This is why I've made I just never had an inclination to join Twitter, because I just found it no. I just refuse to join Twitter. And the thing is, every time I think about joining Twitter, something like this happens, and then it confirms everything that I've also felt. So she doubled down with a series of, the next day, by the way, with a series of Twitter rants where she was detailing her inherent transphobia, as I said earlier, inherently transphobic. Excuse me, her views, okay? Because I know there's going to be the SJW police who's going to be harassing me and telling me like, oh, she's entitled to her opinion. Oh yeah, well, it is what it is. When you have a platform, you need to be careful what kind of opinions you share on a social platform for the world to see. There's a difference between kitchen table talk and then public forum. So if she's going to share her opinion, I'm going to give my reaction. For every action, there's a consequence. So you can talk about freedom of speech or whatever, and that's fine. You're free to say whatever you want to say, but also be prepared for the feedback and the backlash and whatever that you get, because there's always going to be consequences. So you need to be prepared to deal with that, all you free speech advocates, okay? Just the same way people are going to respond to this video and then say some mess to me, and I'm going to be prepared to respond and have something to say, okay? I don't believe in calling people names, although I did call her a moron. But that was just said in the heat of the moment, so I'll take that back. I'll take that back for now. Anyway, another thing, and then on June 10th in 2020, on her personal website, she releases this lengthy post, right? That's called TERF Wars. Read it on your own time. It's about 3,600 words. Okay, so you can read it on your own time. If you want, I can put the link down below in the description box so that you can see for yourself. So, and then that lengthy post is filled with dog whistles. I read it myself. It is filled with dog whistles because she talks about, oh God, she talks about all the negative things about transitioning, and then she mentions people who have detransitioned, and then she says that a lot of people are being misdiagnosed, like they're probably just gay, and then therefore they're being prescribed hormones. So, and then she kind of compared HRT to antidepressants. So this just goes to show that not only is she oblivious to what actual trans issues are, she's also ignorant. Like, I think ignorance is like a disease, honey. And for somebody who's an author, there's a clear lack of thought in what she's writing. Like, honey, read. Actually read. Don't just go based on emotions. And then one other thing that I despise when people fall back on, oh, I have trans friends. You know, I know trans people. I love trans people. I hate when people do that when they get called out on their nonsense. It's kind of like when people who are racist, when they get called out for being racist or saying things that are racist or racist adjacent, they say things like, oh, I have black friends, or oh, I have Asian friends. So that doesn't mean that you get to say all the mess that you're saying. That doesn't mean anything. They're calling you out based off what you're saying, and then you fall back on, oh, I have Asian friends, I have black friends, so therefore that makes your hateful speech okay? Oh, you have trans friends and you love trans people, that makes what you're saying okay? Really? Oh, give me a break. Get a clue, madam. People who think like that, get a clue. Because the thing is, when she published that post, she also went on Twitter too, saying that she got thousands of emails from people thanking her for speaking out. So what that means is So therefore, there are a lot of people that think like that even in 2020, because this was just last year. So there's a lot of people that still think like this because she got a lot of support. She got a lot of support. As much negative backlash as she got, she also got positive feedback from people. And I know I've said this in pretty much every video that I've done so far. Transphobia is alive and well. It is very much alive and well. And I'm not crazy. So when she did that, she disappointed. She just disappointed like millions of Harry Potter fans who basically grew up on Harry Potter. There's a lot of people whose childhood and teenage years are tied into that series. This is why I don't like to idolize people. I don't like to idolize people because more often than not, you get disappointed when they show their true colors. You get disappointed. There is no woman, and by the way, there's no, for all those radical feminists, okay, those TERFs, let me just put this out there and say that there is no woman walking on this earth that I've ever wanted to emulate or imitate, okay? Because that's also something that I've seen somewhere. I read that somewhere, and I've seen that as some kind of dig at trans people. There is no woman walking on earth that I've ever wanted to imitate or emulate, okay? Matter of fact, there's only one woman that I've had the one woman that I've had the ultimate respect for is my mother, because I have seen firsthand the things that she has gone through at the hands of a patriarchal society, and I've seen her go to bat and go to war to basically fight to survive and take care of her kids, okay? Now that's a woman, now that's a mother, and that's something that I respect, uphold, adore. So I will always have the utmost respect for my mother. And so when it comes to emulating a woman, that might be the only woman that I ever want to emulate based off of her characteristics and her trait. Now, do I want to be exactly like her? No, because I'm my own person, and I'm very, very, very comfortable being me, okay? Make no mistake. Calypso is very comfortable with herself. Now, a lot of those when she did that whole lengthy post and got that whole backlash, that excuse me, I still have this damn cough, honey. So, now when she did that whole thing, where she posted that lengthy thing on her website, she got a whole lot of backlash, and then as well as support too, as she claimed. I'll put all the tweets in, I'll put all her tweets and everything in a slideshow so that as I'm talking, you can see what I'm talking about, because like I said, I come with receipts, okay? I'm not just pulling stuff out of thin air. I am actually talking based on facts. Now, a lot of the Harry Potter stars like Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe, what's the other one? The guy who played Ron Weasley, Rupert Grint, who played Ron Weasley. They all came in support and stood in solidarity with the trans community, which is such an amazing thing. Even if they didn't mean it, even though they weren't genuine, I don't know if they were genuine or not. I'm just saying, even though they may or may not be genuine, just that public support helps. Because I'm telling you, it's so easy for people to pick on girls like us. It is so easy. It's almost like a cool thing, you know? And nothing brings people together more than hate. Oh my God. When it comes to unity and solidarity, oh, try posting a hateful thing about trans people or gay people or anything LGBT, and then watch the bees swarm. So, yeah, and then even Warner Brothers also released a statement as well. Then this guy who played Eddie Redmayne, who played the Fantastic Beasts movies, which I didn't really care much for anyway, but I did love him in The Danish Girl. Although I have my feelings about that movie, I felt like there are so many slim pickings when it comes to leading roles for transgender people in Hollywood. So they could have at least given that role to a transgender person. You want to tell me that there's no legit transgender person in Hollywood that could have played The Danish Girl? But that's another story. That's another video. Okay? And that's beside the point. I digress. Excuse me again. By the way, shout out to Absolute Vodka. I did an ad campaign for them earlier this year, and then this was one of the, I don't know, goodies in a gift basket that they sent me. Anyway, and then you had people like Ralph Fiennes or something. I don't know how to pronounce his name, okay? Ralph Fiennes, the guy who played Lord Voldemort, and the guy from Made in Manhattan, which I love that movie, but now every time I see that movie, I look at him as Lord Voldemort. So, the guy who played Lord Voldemort, he kind of came out in support of her because he felt like he didn't understand all the vitriol that she was getting. So he felt like she was being silenced, and that she had a right to exercise her freedom of speech. But again, like I said before, freedom of speech is fine. Exercise your freedom of speech all day long till thy kingdom come. Exercise that, but also be prepared for the reaction too. For every action, there is a consequence, and that's what a lot of people don't realize yet. And you are all adults. You are all seasoned adults. Okay? You have lived, you've been through life, and you still don't understand that there are consequences for the things that you say and do? Come on now. Come on. So Voldemort, that man, came out in support of her, and then I think when I get too heated or when I'm just annoyed, it triggers the cough. Anyway, I digress again. So, and then the guy who played Hagrid, what was his name? Robbie Coltrane. He also came out in support of her, as well as the millions of anonymous people online who also came out in solidarity for her. And then, Stephen King, the horror movie writer, he kind of retweeted something that she posted on Twitter, and then in response, she tweeted her admiration for him, and that was on the 28th of June last year. Gosh, even though the world was in lockdown, a lot of mess was happening online, honey, because people were just at home and bored. And I think that's what it was. This woman was just at home and just bored and looking for who to go after, and then she chose us as her project. Because trust me, I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. Then she tweeted her admiration for Stephen King, and then Stephen King was asked by a fan about his response or his opinion on the TERFs and his where he stands on trans women. And then he tweeted and said trans women are women. And then she then immediately deleted her tweet. And then he later said that she had blocked him after that. So you tweet your admiration for him, and then when he then goes against what you believe in and says that trans women are women, you then deleted your tweet and blocked him. So basically, this is why I say she's a Karen, because when somebody doesn't agree with you, automatically you block them even though you admire them and you tweeted your admiration for this person. You then take down the tweet and then you block him. But what you don't realize is that people have already seen that tweet and screenshot and everything. And then you then go ahead and block him. That not only are you a TERF, you are also a bigot. When he doesn't agree with what you're saying, then you delete him. So basically, if somebody doesn't agree with you, then that's a problem. Really? That's what you're trying to say? Basically. Gosh, I can't. Women like this, I cannot. I cannot. And then on the 5th of July in 2020, this woman went on another rant. Again, she loves the Twitter. She loves that sunken place on Twitter. She loves to go to the sunken place on Twitter, rather. She then went on another rant after she gets called out for liking a tweet that compared HRT to antidepressants. And this was something that she talked about where she says that people are being misdiagnosed, and basically if you say that you're gay, then automatically they put you on hormones. This is why I say that and you know, another thing that I hate is people like her always fall back on the numbers of people that have detransitioned to validate their argument. You know? This is why I admire those policies that are in place. Like in Australia, for example, you cannot legally go on HRT unless you've gone through the proper channels, like seeking counseling and getting a specific note from a psychologist, psychiatrist, one of the two, that says, I believe without a doubt that this person is transgender and therefore they should be allowed to commence medically transitioning. This is why I feel like this is why I admire those policies in place, because therefore, when you start transitioning, the medical team that's going to be assigned to you is definitely going to be you get to transition without a shadow of a doubt that you are indeed transgender. I admire those policies in place because it's people like this that always go back to those numbers of people that have detransitioned to kind of validate the stupid argument that, okay, it must be just somebody who's gay. And then therefore they're being misdiagnosed and then given hormones, which is like what, antidepressants? Where do you get how do you get the correlation between hormones, HRT, and antidepressant? Where's the correlation? I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. From where I'm standing and from what I've seen, it doesn't make any sense. I am on HRT. I'm on HRT. It doesn't alter my moods. I get tired sometimes, but it doesn't alter my moods because I feel like the hormones is only going to enhance what's already there. It doesn't make me nothing. It just enhances what's already there. If you're a bitch, then you're going to be a bitch. If you're a nice person, you're still a nice person. If you're sick in the head, you're just going to be sick in the head. Period. Don't blame it on the hormones, okay? Then, you see, so, then, to take it a step further, she then, on the 15th of September in last year, she was really busy, honey. She had time. She had plenty of time. On the 15th of September 2020, this woman then released another book in her series, the Comoran Strike book series, called Troubled Blood. I'm not even going to review the book. You just go and find it and read it on your own time. But that book is very disturbing because yet again, she's portraying trans people as transvestites, cross-dressing serial killers. That's just fear-mongering at its best. And this is the problem. A lot of women like her, are threatened by the existence of trans girls. And then you always try to make it, and then you like always go back to that old adage, like that well-known gender critical adage where she feels like a fox shouldn't be allowed in the hen house. So basically, we shouldn't be allowed to use the restroom. We shouldn't be allowed to use the changing rooms. And then she goes back on statistics. Let me tell you something. According to, if you want to go by poll numbers, the amount of transgender people who have attacked other women, transgender girls that have attacked other women in restrooms or changing rooms is like very, very small. Very small. There's been no large percentage to really validate that argument. You know, of course, in every community, there's always going to be a bad seed, but that doesn't mean that all of us are terrible. For example, there are black people who are serial killers. Does that mean all black people are terrible? Does that? Make it make sense to me, because. Yeah, so she's like, so she goes back to that adage that says that a fox should not be allowed in the hen house, even whether or not it identifies as a chicken. Really? Like, y'all should read that. Try reading that post on her website, and then you see what I'm talking about. Because I'm not gonna read it on camera because it's just too damn long, and you just read it on your own time. I'll put it in the description box so you can see for yourself. So, God. I am not the proverbial fox in the hen house, okay? I am not Lord Voldemort in a dress, okay? Matter of fact, let me tell you something. 80% of trans women are the most beautiful things walking on earth. Most beautiful things walking on earth. On your best day and our worst day, you wouldn't even be our third runner-up if it was a pageant. You wouldn't even be our third runner-up. And I think, see, that's the problem with a lot of women like that. They are threatened by our existence because they feel like, okay, we have our periods. We can menstruate. We can physically carry babies. So therefore, we don't want to share the word woman. We have sole monopoly on the word woman. But here's the thing, though. That argument is so outdated because there are millions of biological women who cannot physically have babies. Does that make them any less of a woman? Does that take away from their womanhood? There are girls who can menstruate because of some biological malfunction. Does that take away from their femininity or their womanhood? So I think it's insulting because to women everywhere, because you're basically chopping down what it means to be a woman to just those two functions. Are you serious? I think women are amazing. I think women are dynamic. I think women are amazing, awesome, beautiful people, So therefore, I feel like a woman is you, cisgender, biological women, you no longer have monopoly on the word woman. The thing is, you never really did. The only problem is that now it's becoming more and more apparent and a lot of you are threatened, and that's the problem. That is the problem. Now, in my second video, I'm going to go into the rise of the TERFs, and I'm going to go into more specific details about it. Now, this is a lengthy video, I know that, but stick with me. I have a point, I promise. So, having said that, thanks for tuning in again and hearing me run my mouth, and I'll see you real soon. So, stay cool. This sounds so, yeah. So stay blessed. Protect your energy, be kind to one another, and keep the peace, and I'll see you real soon. So, bye.